After a few obstacles, namely FedEx losing the first shipment, I finally received my Finalmouse ULX Pro Tarik Tiger. I have been looking forward to this drop for quite some time, as I've always wanted a large version of the original Starlight 12 shapes. While I prefer magnesium mice, I have to say that I am extremely impressed with this version of the ULX. Now that I've put enough mileage on it to give a proper review, let's see what it's all about. Let's get right into it. First of all, and I believe that most people who main a Finalmouse feel this way, the shape is, in my opinion, perfectly tuned. While most mainstream mice are featuring very general and safe shapes in their flagship products, Finalmouse continues to use this aggressive but natural feeling shape. No matter what grip I am using, it feels like I consistently get it perfect. On the super light, and even occasionally on the Viper V3 Pro, it feels as if my grip can vary slightly depending on how I grab the mouse. With the Finalmouse shape, it feels as if it nestles perfectly in the place each and every time. Not only does it feel good, it looks good. When I pick it up, I perfectly understand why Finalmouse hasn't come out with a new shape yet. The balance between performance, aesthetics, and materials just feels perfect. So the advertised skate-off weight is 37 grams for the Tiger. Let's assume the skates are around 2 grams, which puts my unit at the highest possible weight according to Finalmouse variant stats at 41 grams. For such a big mouse, this is very, very light. To be honest, for a while my value for weight began to diminish, but once I used the Viper V3 Pro for a while, then went back to my lighter mice, I had a renewed appreciation for those extra shaved off grams. It might not seem like it, but for me it does make a fairly large impact on my aim. My best consistent measurements of this were in aim labs. Of my coated non-magnesium mice, I prefer the ULX Pro's coating over the rest. I was impressed by the coating on the Razer Viper V3 Pro Black, and while I heard the white has a superior coating, the ULX feels quite a bit better in my opinion. The ULX feels a little more sticky on my skin, as it will sort of latch on with the lightest amount of force. On my Viper V3 Pro, it feels like I have to dig in a little more to get the same level of grippiness. They're both fantastic coatings, but I like the way the ULX Tarik feels more. There have been some issues with staining reported on the blue parts of the Tarik, and this seems to be attributed to how porous the material is. While my mouse seems to be stain free after a lot of use, my significant other's Tarik Cheetah is definitely showing a bit of the yellowing people have complained about. Her and I have extremely similar routine and hygiene, and we even use the mice in the same environment. This leads me to believe that it's purely based on biology and properties of the user's skin. Here's what Final Boy said in the Discord about the Tarik unit's coating. Quote, "So we got back to complete test report for the Tarik coating. High temperature artificial sweat testing, scratch testing, peel, acids, everything you can think of. The coating doesn't degrade, discolor, or come off in any way. If you have discoloration on your Tarik, it basically means you've stained it, either with dirty hands, colored oils, foods, turmeric, jojoba, or argan oils, etc. Depending on the stain, it can come off with a simple water wipe down with a cloth. If you need a deeper cleaning, you can use 70% alcohol. Alcohol will not remove or damage the coating. It is extremely durable. You can even let 70% alcohol sit for several minutes without issue. Let's follow Final Boy's advice and see if it takes care of the yellowing." Okay, so after wiping it for a couple minutes with the alcohol, I can definitely see that the yellowing has diminished. I'm not going to go too crazy here as I don't want to ruin the coating, but it seems like this is moderately effective. If you have any experience with a yellowing Tarik, please feel free to share in the comments section. According to Finalboy, the ASU coating has been adjusted to be less porous in effort to prevent the yellowing issue that some people have experienced on the ULX Tarik Pro. Finalboy also stated that, quote, after ASU it won't stain at all because we're going to switch to a completely non-porous top coat. The scroll wheel feels fantastic as well. It feels rubbery and has sort of a knurling texture across the entire surface. It feels as if it takes slightly less pressure to actuate both the scrolling and the wheel click functionality when compared to the Viper V3 Pro. Which do I prefer? It's hard to say. I think if you want an easier click or scroll, the ULX Tarik wins. But if you want a more aggressive surface texture and stiffer clicks or scrolls, the Razer Viper V3 Pro wins. I've had no issues with scroll wheel functionality, and you'll definitely get an update from me if that changes. The incredible click feel from these Super Bin Huano blue shells is consistent and satisfying. Both the left and right click feel identically crispy between a large and a small unit, and I'm blown away by the consistency. Following the trend, they both feel and sound lighter than the clicks on the Razer Viper V3 Pro. There is some side-to-side movement possible if I force it, but this movement does not seem to detract from the performance in any way, nor does it seem to occur during regular usage. Overall, I find these switches incredible, and the only click feels I personally find superior come in the form of magnesium shelled mice. Something about the stiff magnesium just provides this incredible tone. Listen to the Huanos in the ULX Pro Tarik. Now listen to the Omron optical switches in this Beast X Max. At the end of the day, this all comes down to preference. What do you think sounds better? Feel free to comment down below. In my Finalmouse Starlight 12 video, I talked about how the side buttons on that mouse are some of my favorite feeling of any mouse I have used. This remains true to this day. The ULX side buttons have the same great shape and feel as my Starlights. They are easy to actuate and give fantastic feedback. I love how aggressive they are. Both the Superlight and the Viper V3 Pro side buttons are lacking in my opinion. In comparison to the ULX, the Superlight side buttons feel too bouncy, while the Viper V3 Pro side buttons feel sorta mid and mushy all around. I feel this is an area where other companies still have not been inspired to improve, which means that Finalmouse still holds the crown here in my opinion. I would say that build quality is Finalmouse's greatest weakness. While all mice have issues, Finalmouse has been known in the community to have inconsistent quality control. The ULX Pro Tarik is not perfect. Even my unit does not quite fit right and will probably need some tweaking if it will ever get there. It definitely seems like the panel chassis fitting is tighter and more consistent on the Starlights, so this leads me to believe that it is a side effect of such a lightweight material. Don't get me wrong, the fitting is not bad at all. I have to look for it to notice it, and I definitely don't feel it. Most of my issues are around the side skirts, where the bottom plate meets the chassis. I have not been able to notice this during regular usage. At the end of the day, I think how you feel about this depends on who you are. If you A, want the tightest build quality with durable standard materials, or B, want to leverage exotic materials to push performance, potentially sacrificing other desirable qualities. I know Finalmouse will continue to improve as they have a track record of doing so, and I believe through refinement of processes and materials the ULX Pro will only get better. The build quality here can be controversial. When working with performance materials and design, I like to think I can see the big picture. Finalmouse is a relatively small company in the mouse market that is attempting to push materials and design to the limits and beyond. In an era where innovation has largely been benched in lieu of quicker turnarounds, counterfeits, and lowest risk growth, it's refreshing to have a company that is inspired in making progress on one goal, creating the final mouse. Sporting a beautiful baby blue and white colorway, this finish is one of the most gorgeous I have seen. I swear to you that it is one of those things that you just have to see in person to fully appreciate. This shade of blue is just too pretty. It really gives that clear sky summer beach feel. The icing on the cake for me is the way the accents cast these thick little shadows that make them contrast depending on which direction the light is coming from. If you like these colors, they are beautifully executed. Unfortunately, you can no longer purchase the Tarik edition from Finalmouse. However, you can find verified unopened versions at an inflated cost for sale online. Rest easy though. The ULX Pro ASU has the same specifications with a few improvements and will be dropping on July 6th at 11 Pacific Standard Time. This colorway is definitely giving me Stormtrooper vibes. Supposedly this is the last batch that will have the smalls, and I'm not sure if anyone other than Finalmouse knows why. So if you need a small for your hand size, I would make sure to stay on top of this drop. If you don't like the colorway, it should make for a great canvas for some custom work. The drop will be priced the same as the Tarik at $189.99 USD, with free domestic shipping and duty-free national shipping at a $14.95 flat rate. Through every obstacle, Finalmouse continues to push the enthusiast performance mouse beyond the present with original materials and manufacturing processes. Each iteration seems to get better than the last. The ULX Pro is the culmination of many years of innovative mouse development. I think if you're of the mindset where you value every decimal of performance, then the ULX Pro is the best choice in the current mouse market. When it comes to this ever-evolving mouse landscape, it feels like sometimes you need to redefine what a 10 out of 10 is. I believe Finalmouse did that with this original shape and side button design years ago, and that other companies still have not caught up. A lot of great mice have been coming out lately. Finalmouse has tucked itself deeper in its niche, while other companies have remained relatively static. I love that about the company. Progress is hardly ever perfect, and I love that Finalmouse is taking these risks. Sure, they could have stopped making new products years ago and just farmed Starlight drops for the next 10 years, but Finalmouse wasn't done. Maybe this is what they intend to do with the ULX. My hope is that they continue to take risks and push the bar higher in pursuit of making the best mouse. Please keep it up, Finalmouse. I'll see you next time. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more.